Money computer. Okay, this is an intellectual podcast. Welcome to Listen to the Music. I'm Chase.
I'm Harrison.
I'm Finley.
I guess I'm Sean.
I guess you'll just have to be.
I'm gonna start off this episode by saying I thought he was joking when he said he was gonna start the podcast by saying money computer, but he wasn't.
Hey everyone, this week we're talking about Frédéric Chopin, who, very good classical musician, made a lot of cool music, and today we're gonna be talking about him.
Let me guess. Okay, Finley, I'm just gonna ask you this one question.
Sure.
Okay? In your opinion, was Chopin truly foundational?
Honestly, while I would say this about many artists, I think Chopin was very involved in a movement. And while I don't know if I would consider him foundational to that movement, he was very significant.
But would you consider him an English rock band formed in 1960?
I was gonna say that.
I would consider Frédéric Chopin an English rock band. Yes.
So for those of you who don't know, Frédéric Chopin was an English rock band formed in 1968.
Did you just say Chopin? Oh, no.
Shut up, I'm not French or Polish. I'm going to pronounce it however I want.
Hard one for me.
His fake name, whatever you want to call it, his second name was French. Because, he was Polish, right?
Yeah.
And then he moved to Paris, or as the French say, Paris.
They do say that sometimes.
And then his name was written in a French way. So I'm not wrong, Finlay.
You are...
let's just go with that.
Okay, someone who knows way more about classical music than me, take the wheel, please.
Okay, Finley, it's up to you.
Really, Chase, I thought you were going to have that, but okay. Here, I'll just give a little bit of a background to Chopin. He was born in the early 1800s, and he was really skilled on the piano really quickly. He was born in Poland, by the way. We kind of talked about that, but yeah. Born in Poland, and he was a prodigy, really. He was composing music and performing it by the age of 8, I think. And then by 16, he was in a music conservatory college. And then by 19, he was performing in I think Germany.
We can't all be that smart,
Hey, he was. But one thing that's important, I think, to note about Chopin is, aside from just how genius he was very quickly, is the kind of style of music and the period when it comes to music. And I think, Chase, would you say it's fair to call Chopin a romantic composer?
Well, yes. Okay. I phrased that yes as a question. It's very safe to say that he is a composer from the Romantic period and a romantic composer. He definitely wasn't one of those composers who was considered to be from...
the core.
Well, I mean, that's not where I was going, but whatever.
Yeah, I'll let you go wherever you're going then.
He's not considered to be one of those composers who was, for example, a contemporary composer nowadays who writes mainly in the Baroque style could be considered neo-Baroque or Baroque, despite not actually being in the Baroque period, which was,
for those who are unfamiliar with the Baroque period, do you want to give a little bit of a explanation on what the Baroque style means?
Okay, just to keep this kind of short and sweet so that we can stay on Chopin, if you think J.S. Bach is probably your most famous example of Baroque style music, very, very strict contrapuntal music, although with variations for artistic flair, etc. there was a lot of emphasis on contrapuntal motion and just doing that as correct as possible. There was also a lot of church music too.
Would it be fair for me to summarize that as it followed all the rules and there was a lot of harmony?
Yeah.
Just for using words that are more commonly, yeah.
So for people who aren't classical musicians, just think Bach, Baroque, Chopin, woke.
Indeed. I would make sure to emphasize the A in that Baroque when referring to Bach, because I would
and I'll
not
also emphasize the A in the woke.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you. Finally, Harrison's spelling the word woke right with the A, as it always has had.
It's like an oak tree.
What's happening?
But with a little explanation of Baroque underway.
You just Baroque me.
Oh, Chase is making jokes now. I love when Chase makes jokes.
No one else does.
Just me.
Thanks, Harrison.
No problem, Chase.
Okay, I think I was trying to talk about the Romantic period.
Yes, I think you were.
I went off on a tangent. Okay, so the Romantic period, just Romanticism in general, is you have your emphasis on emotion, very raw emotion, and a lot of beauty. And your typical Romantic composer would have very descriptive titles for their pieces. It's not like prelude and fugue in whatever key. It would be something weird like Evocation of the Birds' Flight in Winter, something like that. Don't quote me on that. I don't know if that's a thing, and if it is, that's just luck by me. But something like that.
Yeah, very poetic.
Yes, very poetic, and I think Chopin did not follow that. His pieces are etude or waltz or impromptu, mazurka, impromptu,
lots of nocturnes.
Harrison, do you wanna give us one of those names, Harrison?
No, why did you invite him?
The Bolognese. Bolognese number 6 in A flat minor, opus 53. That is an actual song, by the way. I'm not spouting randomness.
Which is actually, it's funny because that song is nicknamed Heroic, which kind of fits into that Romantic style.
Yes, here's actually a thing. There are pieces of Chopin's. They have those titles that are kind of straight to the point, and then they are colloquially known by different names. For example, I think it's Chopin's Etude Opus 25, number 11. That's the title of the piece, but people know it as Winter Wind. In that same vein, his Etude Opus 25, number 12 is known as The Ocean. And, that's not the actual name of the piece. When you hear them, you can understand why people would say that. I don't think Chopin probably wouldn't have liked that. If he rises up from the dead a few weeks from now and people are like, whoa, Chopin, I love the ocean. And he's like, yeah,
me too.
Lots of water. Okay, you can put a boat on it. It's like, no, your etude, the ocean. And he's like, I didn't write an etude called The Ocean. Obviously he probably wouldn't be speaking Californian English, but like,
hey dude, like, I love the ocean, man. I love the ocean, brah.
It's actually called Etude 25 number.
I mean, but that's like, I know a lot of Chopin's work, but not by name at all. And that's like the reason why, like, because I can't remember Opus 25, Etude, whatever, number 7. I can't remember the name of it, but I know like the melodies of like a lot of his like biggest songs, as like most people do, but they probably won't recognize it as Chopin's Etude Opus number 25, number 11.
Or whatever. Yeah. So in that sense, in just strictly in naming his pieces, he didn't follow a very romantic vein. But everything else, the actual content of the music was very, very romantic.
Yeah. If you're at home and wanting to see really what that distinction is, listen to like a little bit of J.S. Bach, right, and then listen to some Chopin, and you'll see there is a marked difference between the two.
Do people call him JS?
Well, I mean, Johann Sebastian Bach.
That's what I call him.
So, you could do J.S. Bach if you want to do it short. You could refer to him as Bach, but he had like 20 million children.
And W.A. Mozart.
They're all like C.P.E. Bach or J.P. Bach or J.P. Morgan or whatever.
Bach's many children.
Yeah, no. It just makes it easier to do initials if you're going to be lazy and not say Johann Sebastian.
Well, okay then.
I like flexing my knowledge of his name.
I'm pretty sure that Chopin's favorite composer was Bach. Just, circling back around.
I believe that is true.
I think it's safe to assume that some of the reasons why he composed not only in the way that he did, but also why he named his pieces why they did is because he considered Bach to be, the greatest. Obviously, he's not going to go ahead and write 15 trillion preludes and fugues with strict counterpoint because he's in the Romantic era. I mean, they're still kind of strict counterpoint, but he's going to do some more things. Also, you have to think about the instruments of the time, and I'm not going to go into this too much, and I'm going to let other people talk, but Bach's instrument was very different than Chopin's. If we're going to talk about the piano, Bach, he was going along on the harpsichord or whatever. And Chopin had a piano that was closer to what our modern day piano is than the harpsichord. There's differences in the quality of sound that they got from their instruments, which in turn led to differences in what they wanted to hear from it and what they got when they tried to do things.
Yeah, the modern piano is just a much more expressive instrument, in my understanding. Just in the way the sound is produced. I think it would be the classic harpsichord. I think is probably closer to like a modern electronic instrument, where you kind of get one sound if you press the button. There's not a lot of complexity to how music's
there's
produced.
there's only so much sound that you can get from a harpsichord before you press too hard on the key and you end up snapping it in half or whatever, which is not good because it's expensive to fix.
Especially when there are only like 5 harpsichords exist.
Okay, you lost me on that one.
Well, just in the early age of the harpsichord, there probably weren't a whole bunch. I wouldn't imagine, because it would have been a very expensive instrument.
Yeah, it definitely probably would have been expensive. Okay, off of harpsichords and stuff like that. Yeah. Someone else want to talk for a little bit so that people can say, "Shut up, Chase. We want to listen to Harrison's voice," or whatever.
Oh yeah, everyone wants to listen to my voice. I got a great voice. I love hearing myself in recordings. But one thing I do want to say about one thing I do want to say about a topic that we were just talking about, the idea of like Chopin naming his songs. I think Chopin did name one of his songs, and it's like a song that we all know. I think he named the Funeral March. Like he called it Funeral March. It wasn't like Opus Etude number 35, Masterpiece.
I mean, I would have to check that, but it's very possible.
But everyone knows the Funeral March. So I can just say the Funeral March.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Actually, no. I believe that is... I just looked that up. I believe that is actually Sonata number 2 in B-flat minor.
No way.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's a movement from one. Yeah.
But I think he named it. Like, I think he actually named it.
I think from what I've known from looking over scores, I think there's a Beethoven piano sonata that has a movement.
Wait, look. Some of Chopin's well-known pieces have acquired descriptive titles. However, except for his Funeral March, the composer never named an instrumental work beyond genre and number. He did name it.
There you go. Okay.
Look at that. That's one song that people can name now instead of having to say 30 words and numbers.
I mean,
okay then.
But wait, Sean, what were you going to say before I started talking about funerals?
Oh, I was going to talk a little bit about when I forget who it was. Most likely Chase. Talking about how Chopin was a fan of Bach, and that kind of got me like thinking a little bit. We tend, and I'm not too far in. I'm not my toes have not dipped that far into the classical music community or pool, but from my experience, people tend to think of like nowadays when we're talking about artists, they talk very frequently about who they're inspired by and who they were influenced by. But I, at the very least, used to have kind of a monolithic view of classical musicians. Like, oh yeah, here was like Chopin, he played like this. Here was Beethoven, he played like this. And I could be this very well could be the opposite of the mindset in the classical music field. I am not the classical music guy here, so if I'm making incorrect assumptions, my sincerest apologies. But Chopin, he knew people. Like, my man's like, obviously there's an entire, like, he was obviously acquaintances with Franz Liszt, who was a Hungarian composer, also very famous in that period. There, so much so that there's an entire section on his Wikipedia article about it. And he also, one thing I didn't know until today was that Chopin got to see Paganini, which that seemed cool because apparently that guy was a heck of a performer.
That is actually really neat. I didn't know that.
Thing, not a big groundbreaking discovery that I made, but just a little observation.
Yeah.
That was neat to talk about when looking at the guy as a whole. He met Liszt when he was in Paris, where he lived for a significant portion of his life.
Yeah.
Well, okay. I'm not totally sure what the assumption there was, Sean, but I think there's a lot of, when looking back on history in general, like, you think, oh, this dude was alive at this time and these people were alive then, and the Crusades or whatever. Okay, maybe not the Crusades.
Well, I mean, it's like thinking about the fact that the Holy Roman Empire existed for like 20 years after the United States was founded.
Yeah, it's weird stuff like that.
Empire.
We're not going to joke about the Holy Roman Empire right now because that'll go on forever.
Go on, Finley. Say the Voltaire quote. Say the ha funny Voltaire quote.
Oh boy.
Well, I was.
Shut up.
Wow.
What are you saying?
Okay.
No, I was just saying that, like, it's crazy to think about, like, these historical people and historical events that, like, may have known each other, been friends, existed simultaneously when we think of them as different entities.
Yeah, and I think somewhat you may have been talking about, John, was like, oh yeah, these like two greats knew each other, and this dude went and watched this person perform, and this lady went and was married to this guy, and she did her thing, and he was like, oh yeah, I can do my thing, or whatever. And it's like, oh, here's Chopin's music, and then you're like, yeah, but all of these people were also composing at the same time, and he probably knew most of them. It's not like they were separate. If I can draw a comparison between today's musicians and the musicians from history. I mean, it's a community is really what I'm trying to say. And, people in the community, you've heard their music, of people that you would really love to meet. Then you go and meet them. And, it's like you're a upcoming musician in the community and you idolize these people, and then you actually get to meet them, and it's like, oh wow, and then you can work with them. And that's what was happening back then as well, except you didn't have iPhones and computers and internet and Wi-Fi and stuff, and you had to like take a horse-drawn carriage for 50 years just to get to Russia from like France or whatever.
Yeah, I think that's like kind of the way we're talking about how everyone in the rock scene kind of knew each other. I think there was a lot of that in this same period. We just know less of the musicians because they're a little bit farther back in history.
Yep. Okay.
Are you telling me you never met Chopin?
It's kind of crazy. But no, I haven't actually.
I unfortunately was also not alive to meet Chopin.
Sad.
So that's unfortunate for me.
You kids these days.
Do we want to like talk about music?
Yeah, I think that would be fair. And speaking of talking about music, because there's plenty of other stuff to talk about with, Chopin and the Romantic period and the people he knew and interacted with. Before we go too much farther, do we want to talk about pieces in particular?
Yes, we do, Finley. Yes, we do.
All right. I don't know. Just me.
It's all good. I'm gonna go first because I have a limited experience with Chopin and I don't want my choices to get said before I say them. So as Chase mentioned, Etude, Opus 25, number 11, Winter Wind's a nice one. But my favorite Chopin piece probably be, do I say the French pronunciation? Do I try to go for it?
Yes.
All right.
Live your dreams.
Please do it.
Introduction polonaise brillante. I added letters there. That's fine. But yeah, introduction and polonaise brillante in C.
Bolognese.
Polonaise, I believe, is French for Polish. I could be wrong.
Is it?
And that's just a assumption. Google Translate can help me here. Anywho, that's not important. So it's a piece. It's about 9 minutes long. It's got a little introduction part for about the first 3 minutes or so. It's actually a duet, I think, piano and violin. Or at least the recordings I've heard have been that, and it's very nice because, like, you know me, I like when there's multiple instruments going on and they're doing the music thing. I think that's neat. Yeah, no, I like this piece. It's a more upbeat one. It's got all sorts of nice little pieces to it. It's got what am I saying here? It's kind of it's 9 minutes, so I'm trying to figure out a way to sum it up. So I'm going to take 9 minutes to describe each individual part. Towards the middle, it's got like the kind of little springy, I guess, section to it, where the piano is doing something, and the violin kind of does its own stuff. I am great at describing music, but yeah, essentially, it's instrument noise make you feel good.
Heck yeah, man.
Make
Okay.
ears feel good. True.
Actually, I will interject here as well. Polonaise, you were half right. I looked it up.
No.
It's a dance, but it is a dance of Polish origin.
I think that makes Sean more like an 8th correct.
Wow. You're really going to knock
It does
him?
describe
Sean,
something
for-
Polish.
For the record, Sean and I take Spanish, so Sean even getting that part correct, I'm going to applaud him for that, but I'm not going to clap because I don't feel like it.
Fair enough.
Just know I'm applauding you in my heart.
I was going to clap along with you, but then you didn't clap, so...
Okay, fine, I'll clap.
I wasn't going to clap.
Wow, Chase, you're really not clapping?
Did I just clap? I
guess it just didn't get picked up. Dang.
That's a rip.
For the record,
Anyways,
guys, I'm recording my microphone audio, and I'm recording Chase's Discord audio. So if he's clapping and it
massive
just
voice
didn't pick it
call.
up if it didn't pick it up in Discord, we're just not getting
You
it.
know what?
So that kind of sucks.
Okay, let's try again.
no. What
Yeah,
we're gonna
no.
have to do. Wait. Everyone, give a moment of silence after this, and what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to in
Like add
post,
clap effects.
like add in. Yeah, we'll
add that
specifically
applause
Chase
thing.
clapping. Specifically Chase clapping. Let's give it a moment of silence. Okay, cool.
Okay, so if
That's
you guys
just
did
a
not
moment of silence.
if you guys didn't hear clapping and there's just a moment of silence, I think it might just be funnier regardless. But you know what? That's just how it be sometimes. It really do be like that.
But
Okay,
with that established,
music
let's take next.
again.
Oh, if
Yeah.
we're gonna talk about songs, I should go next because I also listen to probably about the same amount of classical music as Sean, and I don't want mine to get stolen either. So I'm gonna say, I think, and I'm not gonna be able to describe any music, so you guys are just gonna have to trust me on this. Nocturnes, I think it's Opus 9, number 2. I really like that song, and I think the colloquial name for my other one is Spring Waltz. That's just what I think. And if it's not the one I'm thinking of, I'm like 99% sure he has a song called Spring Waltz, so I'm going to be half right. And then Sean mentioned Winter Wind, so I'm going to mention The Ocean because I actually do really like that piece. And I also do want to mention that I did have bolognese for dinner last night, and that's not a joke. I should have taken the
Respectable.
opportunity to listen to the Polonaise, eating the bolognese, but I didn't have that much forethought. So maybe next time, who knows?
You know, you don't miss the shots you don't take, but that's moderately disappointing that you didn't take that shot.
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take, Wayne Gretzky, Michael Scott.
Okay, that's okay. We obviously have differing opinions on not taking shots.
That's the quote.
They're sober
Okay.
kids. But with that, get it? Anyways. With that, shots? Never mind.
Okay.
Because if you take, they're like a...
Finlay, we don't drink alcohol. We're underage.
I was
and we're not
making a
encouraging
joke,
any other
man.
underage audience to
I
drink.
was making a joke.
Finlay.
But
Unless you're in a country that allows it.
Yeah, in which case, do whatever you want.
Or you're not under whatever age it is.
Yeah, you might be a fully fledged adult listening to this.
All right, Finley, what do you think about Chopin?
Yeah, so I think a lot about Chopin. I spend most of my time thinking about Chopin, which is not true. But no, I do.
Say that's kind of creepy.
I mean, he's dead. I don't know if that makes it better or worse.
I think that makes it worse.
I'm just going to hold off on saying what I was going to say because it would just make everything so much worse.
This is going out into the world. So,
whatever you say, just remember that Chase said money computer at the beginning of the episode. So it doesn't really matter what you say.
This is true. Chase, I feel like Chase's secret reasoning for doing that was to set a precedent so that anything we said would somehow seem less ridiculous. So I thank you, Chase.
But now what I've trapped myself into.
A lot. It set the tone. We get off topic a lot. Why not just start off topic?
Right. But speaking of off topic, Chopin.
Wait, that's on topic.
You got the joke.
Okay, Finley. Sir thinks a lot about Chopin. Please elaborate.
So I listen to a lot of Chopin's nocturnes.
Isn't that your anger playlist?
So Chopin's nocturnes is my, chillin' playlist. Sometimes it's useful for situations in which I need to relax. Sometimes it's just, end of the day, gonna relax a bit, listen to some nocturnes.
Finley's a very violent and angry person, by the way.
Yeah, very, very. And so I desperately need Chopin's nocturnes to calm down. It's like the thing with the Hulk, he has doesn't he have like a song that makes him not angry or something? I don't know.
Isn't it the sun's getting real? That's probably copyright. That's probably...
Yeah, the green...
green man go burr.
Green man get mad, become greener man.
But Chopin, the Nocturnes, Opus 9, 1 through 3. Harrison, you mentioned number 2.
I did. You're stealing mine.
Yeah. Well, hey, I low-key, high-key might get this shit tattooed on my body. So, who's
the
stealing?
entire piece?
The opening bars, probably of Opus 1, but maybe Opus 2, I don't know.
Harrison, you misunderstand. Finley's going to get a tattoo on his body that says Chopin Nocturne number 2. The entire title and just what does that mean? Like, oh yeah, it's the name of a piece.
Oh yeah, it's Chinese for bliss.
But the Nocturnes.
I feel like I need to explain my joke because Chase didn't get it. You know, like how people get like Chinese characters tattooed on their body, like so that people go up and ask them what it says, and then they say like that it has like real sentimental meaning, but it's just like the word like happy.
And then most of the time it doesn't actually mean what they say it means.
I don't know who I'm calling out in the audience, if anyone, but if you do that, I am not sorry.
This tattoo means peace and harmony, but the actual translation is tax evasion.
I think it would be funny if someone got the word tax evasion tattooed on them and then was proudly displaying it.
But I won't even translate it into Chinese. Anyway, my apologies, Finley, continue.
No worries. I'm just imagining going into court with like a tax evasion face tattoo now. But that aside, one thing I will say that I really like about the Nocturnes is, and this is kind of what we were talking about with the Romantic period, but you're kind of being pulled along in this journey of tonality of movement with sound and volume, and it's very relaxing, right? May talk a little bit more about that later, may not. But one thing about Chopin that you'll notice when listening to a lot of his stuff, unlike a lot of the Romantic composers who often use orchestras, he mostly wrote solo piano pieces. and especially with nocturnes, it's this, you do get this vibe of kind of the music in the void, you know what I mean? You've got the song you're listening to and there's not a lot of distraction. And I know there's some pieces where you do get that wider vibe, but like the one you were talking about, Sean. But that's my pitch for the nocturnes.
Yeah, my brain has, like, it low-key kind of broke for a few seconds, which is why I wasn't capable of saying anything more than a few words at a time. What I was attempting to say before my brain actually died and imploded, sure, was that it's a good thing that I let Harrison go before me, because I was going to say Etude number 25, opus 20, oh my god, my brain literally just
it's hard to remember.
My brain just like committed
aneurysm.
Yeah. Yes, opus 25 number 12 for I'm just not going to care about Chopin rising up from the dead tomorrow and stabbing me to death for calling it the ocean. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that real quick. That is probably my favorite piece of Chopin, not only because it's just a really great piece, also because I play it, and it's really, really fun and satisfying to play when you get it right. It's a lot of turbulence, a lot of emotion, and if I would recommend a recording of it, I would recommend, if you want to listen to it, I would say Claudio Arrau, Arrau. I hope that's the right spelling. If it's not, I'm going to look really dumb. I'm sure that's the correct spelling.
But is it the correct pronunciation?
Claudio Arrau.
Because if you spelled it wrong and pronounced it wrong, nobody's going to be able to find it. And it'll all be on you.
Yeah, it's Claudio Arrau.
Okay.
Yes.
Come on, Harrison.
I'm actually not dumb. As hard as that is to believe for everyone, I'm actually not stupid.
Oh yeah, and for the record, guys, Chase actually like plays classical music. Like he's like a real musician and stuff.
Yeah, I'm actually a real musician.
He knows.
Wow.
No, I'm just trying to say you know way more about what you're talking about than we do. So like, if he says something Chase-esque,
there's more.
Then there's more to it.
Oh, wow. Alternatively, there's more pressure for me to get everything that I'm saying correct because I should know this, and if I don't, then I'm just solidifying my dumbness. Okay, so what I was saying,
things.
I should hope so. I mean, you don't study piano for like more than half your life and just know nothing.
One would hope not.
Yeah. What I was saying before somehow I got onto the tangent of being stupid, is that Claudio Arrau, I think, is possibly my favorite. He did my favorite performance of the Ocean Etude because I've listened to a lot of recordings of it, and I find that most of the recordings, the turbulence is not lost in any of the recordings. That's kind of key to the piece. So you get, basically what I'm trying to say, it's a lot of arpeggiations going from the bass up to the treble and back down. And a lot of what you hear, and it goes pretty fast too, and a lot of what you hear is you hear that first note in the lower register of the piano, or rather the first two notes, one in your left hand and one in your right hand in the lower register. You hear that, and then there's kind of a cloud of sound or a wave of sound, and then it goes to those two higher notes played, one in your left and one in your right in the upper register of the piano, and then back down to lower notes. And that's generally what you hear. It's a lot of, you hear the low anchor, and then it goes up, and then you hear a kind of a high response, and then it goes back down to the low anchor and up and down.
Maybe that's why it was called the Ocean.
Yeah, I mean,
because of the waves.
I'm not
I'm not disputing that. I'm just saying that a lot of recordings that I've heard, in between those two kind of anchor points, there's not a lot of definition in the actual notes that you're playing. Like, you can hear it, but I think what Claudio Arrau does incredibly well, and I was shocked when I first heard it, is he articulates everything. So you hear all the notes, and you still have that great turbulence that kind of is signature trademark of the piece. I mean, it's why it was named. It's why people named it what people know it by. That was a really dumb way of saying that.
That's why people named it Etude Opus 25, number 12.
Yeah, that's why people think of it as the ocean, is because it really does sound like the ocean. But the articulation that Claudio Arrau does, specifically when he's playing that piece, and I've heard him do it in many other performances, it's striking, it's shocking, because you can hear everything, but then you still get the overall view of what so many other people have done. You get the turbulence, and you get kind of the feel of the wave, but you also hear everything. And I think he has a very conservative use of the pedal in parts that I don't. Speaking from my experience playing the piece, I am not Claudio Arrau. That is for sure set in stone. That's kind of what I aspire to. I aspire to play the ocean like Claudio Arrau does, just because it's so incredible, all the articulation. And, I use a fair amount of pedal in that piece to sustain it so that you can get some more additional turbulence and also additional sound. Quite frankly, it was pretty scary listening to it, and he's hitting all of the notes, and he has this great articulation, and then there's not much pedal, and I'm like, that's scary to listen to. I don't know if I could actually play the piece confidently without the amount of pedal that I use, which is probably a problem for me, but I'm not going to get into that right now because there are a lot of things that I could work on.
Every
that
piano
I
player
probably
listening
should.
to this is like nodding in agreement.
Mm-hmm.
And in the meantime, I have like no idea what you're talking about. The only pedal I know is the bass drum pedal and the vibraphone pedal.
The kick.
Sure,
Yeah.
the kick drum.
Okay, yeah, that's my 2 cents on that etude. Quite frankly, I'm kind of surprised that none of you said anything about the Fantasy Impromptu.
I was waiting for you to mention the Fantasy Impromptu.
Oh yeah, I also was definitely waiting for you to mention that, Chase.
Okay, wow. It's kind of one of those iconic pieces that everyone knows. And what I will say is that we touched on how Chopin was, this prodigy and, a genius or whatever. He was. If you look at his pieces, they are, I think, at least with Winter Wind, Winter Wind is pretty technically challenging, as is the ocean. And so is Fantasy Impromptu, The majority of the piece has you playing 3 against 4, and that's, ask any keyboardist out there about 3 against 4, and it's not fun to play.
I like 3 against 4.
You know what, Harrison, shut up.
As long as I'm in 4.
It's
probably
it's
easier on
difficult.
the drums.
It's you're playing. I'm not going to explain too much about it, but it's not something that you just sit down at the piano and you're capable of doing unless you've practiced 3 against 4 for years. It doesn't line up in nice ways, and just doing the whole piece, you have to practice a lot at it. And Chopin definitely did not shy away from stuff like that, which just goes to show that he knew how to play really well. Not only not only was he capable of composing really cool stuff, he could also play it, which is always nice when you're a composer,
Be a rip if you could write all this music and just be like, actually.
Yeah, I can't play this. Sorry, guys.
Speaking of his innate ability to play the piano, do we want to talk about his piano playing tools?
You gonna go into some hand fetish thing? Is that a thing? Like
So Chopin had state-of-the-art synth.
This is true.
It could play all of the instruments. He gave a boy a piano and taught him how to learn dubstep. And that boy's name was Skrillex.
It's so true. But yeah, I think Finley was gonna go into talking about Chopin's hand or hands, which are preserved by a museum. I think are both of them, or is it just one? I've seen the left one, but
I think it's just the left one.
That's a shame. I heard he had injury in his right hand towards the end of his life.
So that one's useless. Just throw it out. Throw it in the bin. Keep the left one.
Jeez. No compassion for injuries. Gosh.
If it can't play the piano, throw it in the bin.
Okay, looks like we're throwing Harrison in.
I learned how to play the xylophone. That can translate, I guess. Chase is just like sleeping in anger.
I'm gonna try really hard not to. You know what? Just talk about your hand fetish, Harrison. Please.
What? It's Finlay.
Yeah,
Finlay's talking.
Tell us all about Chopin's hands.
No, you do it. I'm not talking about hands.
I'll do it myself.
I was just gonna mention the man had some massive hands. Like that's it. Yeah, he could reach very far and play. I don't know exactly how many notes above an octave.
And little known fact, he could crush an apple in his fist.
I didn't actually know that.
I'm kidding. That might be true. I don't know. Who knows? It's probably not true. Might be a very squishy apple.
Let's get him on the podcast. Ask him.
Yeah, get Chopin. Call Chopin up on the old horn. Is that what they called it? The horn. Well, I guess Chopin didn't call it that. Chopin.
Okay. What I'm gonna say real quick is that I'm. What did you just say? You're 12?
No, Chopin could reach 12 keys. That's how many it was.
Oh, he could reach a 12th? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot. Okay.
Let's do that on the marimba.
2 octaves.
What I'm going to say before my brain officially breaks and dies again is that I'm pretty sure someone, when talking about Chopin's hands, so it was probably Harrison, because we all know he loves hands.
Okay, you know what? I did not even say anything. I said throw out the hand. If anything, that should make me a hater of hands.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. Please continue about Harrison and him.
Hey.
I was...
This is blasphemy.
I was kind of half listening for a few seconds there, and I think someone said something about Chopin having large hands.
That was Finlay.
Okay.
No.
I want to just clarify real quick. His hands actually weren't exceptionally large. They could just stretch. His fingers could stretch really far. And I think it was something about him lacking some of the webbing between his fingers. So he could just like stretch them farther without tearing the skin in between his fingers or whatever.
Tearing your webbing hurts so much, dude.
I've never done that, and I don't want to imagine doing it.
No, it sucks, bro.
Yeah, it sounds really awful.
Can't tell if you're being facetious or not.
Me?
Yeah.
No, okay, first of all, the webbing between your fingers is like the worst place to get a paper cut.
That's true.
Because if you have to like stretch apart your fingers or like you clench your fist, you just always feel it. Because
especially if it's like between your thumb and pointer finger, because then you're writing and it's like
it's awful. But like tearing the skin between there is probably like way worse.
Yeah. Hey.
I'm gonna try and just not talk about hand-related injuries because I don't want to jinx myself.
It's stuff and nightmares.
It's so frustrating. It's like you're booked for all this stuff and then you just suddenly can't do it. It sucks. Okay, shut up me about injuries. So
just hold the stick a different way, duh.
Just hold the piano stick.
I like making Chase angry.
I'm going to save that comment for after the podcast when we're not recording.
That's true. You don't monetize.
I'll just end the recording and hang up immediately so I don't have to face Chase's wrath.
Okay, it's not actually that bad. I just don't want it to be recorded and put out onto the internet.
No, it's fine. Just cyberbully me. That's fine.
Okay, I could go over to your house and yell at you.
Real life bully me. That's fine too.
Okay. I mean, if you say so, don't bully everyone. It's not nice.
Hi, kids.
No one appreciates.
Hi, kids. Do you like violence? We are really off topic here. Okay, webbing between fingers. Okay, so yeah, his hands weren't actually exceptionally large. He could just stretch a lot, which is why so many people are kind of. Oh God, this is gonna sound weird. Which is why so many people are kind of fascinated with his hands, like Harrison.
Okay, I swear to God. Okay, we've been talking about this episode for a while, and the two people who have mentioned wanting to talk about Chopin's hands were Sean and Finlay. I never said. Oh, and Chase. I never said anything about his hands. For the record, I just want this to be public information. I don't think about hands. I'm not weird, Chase.
Okay. To be fair, when I did make recommendations of things for you guys to just kind of familiarize yourself with, I did recommend that you familiarized yourself with Chopin's hands. So that's kind of on me. That one is on me.
They were hands.
Okay,
they were stretchy.
Okay, but that's what makes it, quite frankly, for so many people interesting, is because, you know, he could do what he did with not exceptionally large hands and everything. It's just very, I want to say, uncommon. I don't know the statistics, but it's probably pretty uncommon for you not to have webbing between your fingers.
Yeah, especially not to have webbing in between your fingers and then go on to be a world-famous musician.
Yeah, to have prodigious skill at the piano.
Yeah.
I'm going to end on a topic that's not hands. I'm going to say something else so we don't have to
you talked about hands!
No.
He did. You said the word hands. He said the word hands.
This is cyberbullying. I'm going to say something not relating to that subject. Like, we keep talking about how, like, Chopin was, like, a brilliant musician and, like, he had, like, such great skill, which is true, I assume. But I don't know for certain because I will never be able to hear him play.
That is true.
Okay.
Wow.
I mean, he's not going to come on the podcast. I already asked.
Yeah, we did reach out to his offices, and they were really confused.
Yeah, but my point is, like, there are no recordings of Chopin. I can't go up to Chopin and be like, hey, can you play Solitude in E minor for me? Like, I will... yeah, E minor, all right. No, but we'll never be able to hear what he actually sounded like. We can only just assume from, like, word of mouth and, like, his compositional papers, whatever you want to call them, his staves.
Compositional papers. You know, it's actually, if you're plural, it would be staves, I believe.
I said staves. I thought that was how you pronounced it.
I think we can probably just go with compositions here.
Compositional
We're splitting
papers.
hairs.
Computer.
We're splitting Harrison.
Money computer.
Money computer, the end.
We started it with money computer. We ended with money computer.
For those of you who were tuning in this week, we do this weekly, I think. Or something.
We missed a week or two here or there, but it's fine.
These things happen. For those of you who are tuning in, thank you for stopping by. We love talking about musicians, and we like the idea that people might get value out of that. Listen to you some Chopin, because don't forget to listen to the music. Chase, go ahead.
Money computer.